Okay, the topic today is multiplying and dividing integers. You will actually get the rules for how to do this, and then you're just going to practice the skills. So, you should have been given a sheet that looks like this. I went ahead and cut one of them out, but you and your partner can each have one. So you're just going to cut around the dotted lines as usual. And you'll have something like this, that then you're going to cut up this middle, and then you'll be able to fold here and here in order to get the foldable that you need. The target for today, I can multiply and divide integers using the rules below, or just the rules in general. I just said below because they were going to be below. I suggest you take notes this time and then glue it in. We kind of change that up a little bit as we go through, but this obviously means multiplication, and this is division. So when we flip them up, we're going to be able to see the rules for each. So let's start with multiplication. Actually, the nice thing about multiplying and dividing integers is they share the same rules. So the rules that you have for multiplication are the same rules that you'll use for division. So I want to go ahead and put same rules up here, and then down here we're going to actually put what they are. And I'm going to separate them just because we have these two different sides of the foldable. So if we are multiplying a positive number times a positive number, that's going to give us a positive answer. If we are multiplying a positive number times a negative number, that's going to give me a negative answer. If we're multiplying a negative number times a positive number, that's going to give me a negative answer. And if we are multiplying a negative number times a negative number, that's going to give me a positive answer. So I want you to think for just a second, what do these two have in common? What do these have in common? So these two both have a negative. These two both have a positive. I want you to think about it for just a second and see if you can come up with some way that you can separate the two different kinds of answers that you'll get. So pause the video, take a second to think about it, and then come back. Okay, so I'm assuming that you've had a second to think about it. What these have in common, these two, is that they are same signs. So if you're multiplying two numbers with the same signs, you're going to get a positive answer. So same signs equals a positive answer. And then different signs equals a negative answer. So it's pretty self-explanatory, pretty straightforward. And then the division rules are exactly the same thing. So if we're dividing a positive by a positive, that's going to give me a positive. If we are dividing a positive by a negative, that's going to give me a negative answer. If we're dividing a negative by a positive, it's going to give me a negative answer. And then if we are dividing a negative by a negative, that's going to give me a positive answer. So again, if we have same signs, it's going to equal a positive. If we have different signs, it's going to equal a negative answer. So if we have different signs, meaning a negative divided by a positive or a positive divided by a negative, it's going to give me a negative answer. We have the same signs, a positive divided by a positive, that's going to give me a positive, and then a negative divided by a negative is also going to give me a positive. So the signs are the same here, it's going to give me a positive answer. If the signs are different that you're dividing, it's going to give me a negative answer. Same thing for multiplication. So let's go ahead and glue this down. We're only going to put glue on the half that says multiplying and dividing integers. That way, if the whole thing is glued down, we're going to get it pretty close to our learning target here, just because we are going to do some examples down below. So I'm going to scoot this up just a little bit so we can see the bottom half of the page. So let's do multiplication, and then divide the page in half and do division examples over here. Alright, so let's take, for instance, Negative 12 divided by 4. Well, let's look up at our rules. Whoops, this is multiplication, I'm sorry. So this should be multiplied by 4. We look at our rules up here, our multiplication rules. We have a negative and a positive. So we find a negative and a positive. That's going to give me a negative answer. And you should memorize these rules because they're very simple, and then it becomes more mental math than anything else. So negative times a positive is a negative, so I'm going to have a negative answer. And then I just think about, what is 12 times 4? Well, 12, 24, 36, 48. So this is going to be a negative 48. What if I have a negative 6 times a negative 3? Well, negative times negative, that's going to give me a positive. 6 times 3 is 18, so it must be a positive 18. You can put the positive symbol if that helps you, but you don't have to. I'm going to give you a couple more examples. I want you to pause the video, write them down, pause the video, and then come back and check your answers. So go ahead and think about those for a second, come back and check your answers. Okay, so I'm assuming you've tried them out. This one is negative 30, and this should be positive 80. All right, let's do a few examples for division. If we are dividing, let's see, 24 by negative 3, well, let's look at our division side. So we have a positive divided by a negative. It's going to give me a negative. 24 divided by 3 is 8, so it should be a negative 8. If I have negative 40 divided by negative 5, signs are alike, means that we're going to have a positive answer. 40 divided by 5 gives me 8, so it should be a positive 8. I'm going to give you a couple more. I want you to try them out and then check your answers. Okay, try them out. Pause the video, try them out. Let's and then come back and check them out. Okay, so I'm assuming that you've done that. So 48 divided by 8 gives me 6, and 55 divided by negative 11 gives me negative 5. Okay, so these rules should be pretty easy compared to the addition and subtraction rules. So if you need more help with this, please come and see me. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that you're feeling pretty good about it, and then you're going to flip over on this next page. You should have been given a sheet that looks like this. Okay? This is all operations. You've now learned all of the integer operations, so this is kind of a culminating activity where you're going to use the skills that you've learned throughout the unit so far to answer some problems. So at the top of your page, you want to just put integer practice, all operations, and then your target is, I can use what I've learned about integers to solve problems. You're just going to fold that sheet in half. You're going to glue half of it on. You're going to solve these problems, and then there is a key in the classroom that you're going to take and use to check yourself. I do want you to check right or wrong for each one. You're only cheating yourself if copying things, because then you're not going to know how to do it for the mastery when it comes down to game time. So make sure you are doing this on your own, and then check yourself when you are finished. And if you have any questions, you want to ask a partner, and then if you can't figure it out with them, then you're going to come and ask me. So go ahead and get to work.